Kuat Drive Yards was an incredibly powerful business that manufactured ships and vehicles that were used galaxy-wide. In particular, they also managed a great deal of military contracts, both for the Republic and Empire, and enjoyed very favourable terms whilst working with both of these. They almost had a monopoly on all capital ships manufactured under the Empire, for example. However, despite common belief, this did not end with Sidious's death. And it's become pretty evident that there was many in Kuat Drive Yards' ranks that actually longed to see the return of the Galactic Empire and were actively trying to help that happen. So what exactly did happen to Kuat Drive Yards post the Battle of Endor? Now, the business did not simply surrender following Sidious's death. It was still very much an Imperial territory and was still under Imperial jurisdiction. So, following the Battle of Endor, Kuat and its orbital shipyards were sieged by Admiral Akbar and a large portion of the rebel fleet. This was essential as these shipyards were in many ways the lifeblood of the Imperial Navy. Now eventually, after sustaining heavy casualties on both sides, the Imperial Moff and Kuat executives decided to surrender, and this was a key event that led to the Battle of Jakku, as the Empire's supply of new capital ships and vehicles was essentially severed. It truly was a crippling blow to the Imperial Navy. Eventually, the Galactic Concordance is signed, and the New Republic takes control of the galaxy. So, under the New Republic, Kuat Drive Yards saw much of its power that it had collected through the Empire be diminished. The Imperial remnants, their main customers, were outlawed from owning or buying much of the equipment, for example, capital ships. And even if they weren't, the Imperial remnants just were not in a position to be able to afford it. Meanwhile, the New Republic was demilitarizing itself, which made much of Kuat's technology and equipment completely moot. Many of the super weapons, tanks, capital ships, etc. that Kuat had spent so long researching, developing, and creating were now just not needed. There was no demand for them. So, at the end of the day, there was probably quite a lot of resentment and bad blood in the New Republic towards Kuat Drive Yards as a company. You need to remember that at the end of the day, this business had manufactured the machines that had oppressed the galaxy for decades, all in the name of profit. So you can imagine there's going to be a lot of worlds, a lot of senators, and just a lot of people who aren't going to give Kuat Drive Yards the time of day to even consider buying off them. So, as is pretty obvious, Kuat Drive Yards was in a pretty sorry state. It's for this reason why perhaps the executives at Kuat longed for a return to the old ways, under a government that gave them so much power. And on the outer rim world of Entrala, they would begin to plot. The business has resources on the world, both Kuat Entrala Engineering and Drive Yards, and it appears that many on the board of directors of this company were sick of their declining sales. It appears that many of these officials joined the Sith cult loyal to Sidious on Exegol, the Sith Eternal, and began to help plot how he and his final order would return. The Entrala division began siphoning off materials through various back channels to get them to Exegol, and begin helping in the construction of the Final Order's fleet of planet-killing super ships. Now, to what extent the entirety of the parent company, being Kuat Drive Yards, was involved in this entire scheme is difficult to say. It seems almost impossible that vital necessities for making star destroyers and weapons that could destroy planets could go missing and no one would notice. It also seems very strange that New Republic senators and Overlook commissions would not maybe pay attention to that. It may have been a case of willful ignorance. Kuat Drive Yards was a huge company and was likely struggling to stay afloat with the lack of business that they'd relied on under the Empire, and therefore many of the officials may have just chose to look another direction. All they knew was that money was coming from somewhere, and it's probably best not to ask questions. It's also possible that ex-board members of the company were attempting to take back control in somewhat of a coup within the company. Many of the board officials will have likely been removed from their position on the parent company post the Galactic Civil War for PR reasons. At the end of the day, most of the people who were higher up in Kuat Drive Yards were Imperial sympathizers, and that was not the brand that the company wanted anymore. They wanted to be working with the New Republic, and having a bunch of ex-Imperials do that just doesn't look good for them. Ultimately, regardless, this gambit did not pay off. It's incredibly likely that following the Battle of Exegol, whatever government took over will have been quick to investigate Kuat Drive Yards and arrest those responsible. It's also incredibly likely that a lot of those CEOs and executive board members and directors were probably actually killed on Exegol. As we saw, a lot of cultists were there, and a lot of these people were just people who were jockeying for position in Sidious's new regime. But the ultimate fate of Kuat Drive Yards as an entirety of a company is unknown. It's very, very likely it suffered from a hostile takeover. I don't see a world where realistically a company that has as bad press as them would really have ever succeeded, but I guess we need to know what happened post-Battle of Exegol to really understand that. But what do you guys think? Was this a smart move by the business to try to account for its losses? And do you think that the entire company was involved? And finally, what do you think happened to Kuat Drive Yards as an entire company post the Battle of Exegol? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed. If so, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TheLawGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time.